my light. I just realized it's dark in here because the light is on.
Yeah.
It usually don't look that dark. And I just realized the light wasn't on. Hey y'all. I have a topic,
Okay.
but you can do your topic first.
No, you can go ahead and start your topic. It's fine.
No.
Go ahead.
I really want you to do your topic.
I mean, well, my topic is it's not a short-winded topic, so I can't say that much.
Talk loud though, so they can hear you. And you can move it so they can see you too.
Okay.
Because when you turn this way, they can't see you really. Like maybe if I there, they can see you better.
That's fine. Essentially, what I was talking to Yosha about the other day was the kind of a conversation topic where everybody's talking about a seat at the table. And it spawned from me listening to a few other conversations um, and seeing that Tyler Perry officially opened up his 330-acre studio, um, his production studio, movies, and TV studio, which is, I believe, not too far away from East Point. Listening to that, also listening to T.I.'s podcast called Expeditiously, where he did 2 episodes with Killer Mike, where they had a few different conversations. One that was with a panel discussion with folks who are have political knowledge and feel like they were trying to make progress within the black community, as well as me listening to one of my favorite podcasts, The Church of What's Happening Now with Joey Diaz, and his topic of his podcast yesterday being um, falling in love with something first and the money will come later. So upon listening to all of these, I was talking to Yosha, and for some reason, I've always heard people talk about a seat at the table, a seat at the table, a seat at the table. And with the entrepreneurial journey that I'm embarking on now, I made a post on Instagram the other day that said, I'm not asking for a seat at the table. I'm just learning. I just want to learn how to build it um, so that once I'm gone, my kids don't have to ask for a seat. They'll already have one. And to me, I felt like it made sense because, hey, Shantavia, it made sense to me because for the longest we've always talked as the African American culture talked about having a seat at the table and why we can't get a seat and building as a community and trying to have this and that and supporting each other as black folks and just a lot of different things that come into building the community, having a seat at the table, and sharing our future. And um, I felt like it would be a good conversation piece, not just for African American people, but for folks who are also middle class, and for people of color, and for people who have money, who have their seat at the table, and we understand they ain't really educating nobody and trying to give it up. Um, and it just, for me, it spanned a lot because it had to it made sense. I remember listening to Tyler Perry's speech at the BET Awards when they gave him his award, and he said that while everybody else was fighting for a seat at the table, he was down in Atlanta building his. And to me, it made sense because he did catch a lot of backlash from Hollywood and even the black community. He caught a lot of backlash for, oh, well, why do all these black actors seem to, or some of these black actors seem to make up their money dressing as women. And for me, I could understand why they're saying it because you're taking the black man
And
and
making him a
basically
joke.
making him a joke, but it didn't make him a joke. It just made him money. He did something that no studio has ever done. He took a Confederate Army base that's 330 acres and bought it, paid for it, didn't have to partner with anybody else to do it. It's his straight out. It's bigger than Warner Brothers. It's bigger than Fox, and it's bigger than whatever the next third one is. It's big enough to fit all three of those lots on his lot and still have room left. But the same people who, once they heard about the studio being open, started asking for jobs were some of the same people talking mess about him before he got there. But we're wondering about, oh,
Yeah.
well, can I have a seat at Tyler's table? Why should Tyler let you have a seat at his table? Before he had the table, you didn't want nothing to do with him. You was sitting
Which
up
is
there.
probably why he is trying to do things to help people that have been cast out,
What?
i.e., LGBT community, and
Right.
I think I saw sex trafficking victims.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. But my biggest thing is that you had to understand when he was building and had nothing. Um, when he was building and had nothing and couldn't get a seat at the table, we were supporting him in making his plays. The Medea plays always sold out. So why is it that when he finally went to Hollywood, black people started looking at him funny?
Yeah.
We were all on his. We were on his.
Well, I'll say this. I really am not one that, doesn't support him or feel bad because, or, talk badly. I tell it like it is, but I will say, like, his plays, I grew up watching those plays, and me and my family loved the plays. When it came to um, the remakes that came from the plays, they had the same um, plot and everything as the play. I started to withdraw from liking it as much just because it was repetitive. Not because I didn't necessarily support him, but just because I wasn't liking the movies anymore. But I do still like some of the movies that he did before when he started kind of spitting them out every year. I think his best three were Diary of a Mad Black Woman, The Family That Prays, Daddy's Little Girls, and I guess I have a fourth one. I think it's the Medea's Family Reunion. I like that one too. But some of the other ones, like the Christmas one, I went and saw that. I didn't really like that much.
Right. I mean,
And Boo, I think he has like a Halloween movie.
yeah, and I mean, I understand that because his biggest idea, and now seeing that he had his studio, he was pushing with a goal in mind, and he understood that although the stuff was getting repetitive, for some reason people just love Medea.
I love
And when he
Medea, but
talked
I
about
also
killing
love some of
Medea,
his other serious stuff too.
yeah, and I can
It
understand that,
touched
but
on things.
yeah, I can understand that because as an artist, and especially when you start looking at even with rappers, they have a similar cadences. They rap over same beats. When you talk about people who work in plays or actors, they have at times been typecasted. He
Yeah.
found his niche and he stuck with it because when he was sleeping in his Pinto, this was the thing that got him out. And the thing is, we as people were still supporting it. So he didn't have a reason to turn away from it. If you telling me at the box office on the first weekend I'm making money, what it shows is that,
We
hey,
support him because making a he's doing something that nobody's ever done, and
right,
we have the sentiment like behind growing up watching Medea's plays and things like that.
right, boy,
Even if we don't know, or even if we don't necessarily think it's going to be good, we'll just go support because we want to see him win.
right. But
Because I know I've done that.
he's gauging those statistics of us wanting to see him win. As once you see him win and you're giving him them statistics, you're going off of, okay, at the opening box office, we made this. So either we're doing something right, but or if we're doing something wrong, people are still buying tickets.
Yeah.
But more often than that, I looked at it as I took more of it as not just the movie she made,
And he
but
probably knows his audience too, if you really think about it.
that too. But for me, I took it as looking at it as learning how to build the table, and for what it was for him to have been in Hollywood and still not as accepted as some other people. Obviously, he took his time in Hollywood and learned from it and built from it. And in building his table, he set it up to where he was able to put other people at the table to eat.
Yeah.
And that's something I can apply, and it's something I'm trying to learn how to do with the business I'm creating. Because I don't want to sit up here and be reliant on somebody picking me to have a job. Because
Right.
that's what it is. When you're asking for a seat at the table, essentially you're asking for somebody to welcome you to said table
Mhm.
and to have a seat. But if it's not your table, you don't get to regulate how long you get to sit there. And
Mm.
I thought about it as the analogy of when you were a kid sitting at lunch, you wanted to sit around your friends. You
Mm.
didn't sit around people you didn't know or didn't speak to because that was an influence on your experience. And it's no different now if we're saying we want a seat at let's the white folks table. You got to understand who's sitting at the table before we get a seat at it. If me and you were sitting at lunch and some random person wants to sit in between us, 9 times out of 10, what are we gonna do?
Say no.
Right. So when you say no, now that person don't have an option but to either find them another seat at the table if we allow them to sit there. If we run them off, they can find somebody else to sit with, or they can like, you know what? I'll just sit up here and find a way to build the table myself and keep it pushing.
Mm.
So in that part I understand, but in the latter of I'll just find a way to build the table and keep it pushing, it's learning how to build the table. And I feel like that's just as important as having a seat at it. And for me, I would like to be the person who learns how to build the table, whether I get a seat at it or not. And
Like Tyler.
right, like
But
we gave
now he has a seat at
right
the
now he
table.
has a seat, and now he has the ability to teach other people how to build their seat and give them the understanding that you are not going to necessarily get a chance to have the same seat as me per se.
Mhm.
You can have the table, but it may not sit as high. It may not be as long. It might not give you the same reach. It might not be with people around you who are able to encourage you to do everything you want to do. But if you're building it, you got to understand what may come out of it. And that was something that when I was listening to Joey Diaz, he was talking about everybody chases the money, but how many people choose something that they really love and sit down and are honest with themselves and say, you know what, I'm probably not going to make great money for the first 5 years. And that spoke to me personally because what am I doing right now? Trying to build something and I'm not making the greatest money, but what it's teaching me is that you get paid for the amount of work you do well. You don't eat you're not going to get somebody dropping a direct deposit in there 2 weeks every 2 weeks unless you've created the network and the market to show that your work is going to get you new work every 2 weeks. And 9 times out of 10, until you learn how to do the work, go through the lessons, and be effective at it, you're not going to get that. But that's okay because you got to understand you're building for later on down the line and understand what you're trying to build towards. You got to love what you're doing. Ain't too many people who are okay with going and being doing something and not really making a lot of money out of it if they don't love it. And a lot of people will skip over doing what they love just to have money and have the money and still be partially miserable in their life because the money continues to come and go. The money's not consistent. Yeah, I make, let's say you make $7,000, but your bills are five, so now you're left with two. But the two got to put groceries in the house. You got to put gas in the car. You got to pay for the kids to have after school care. They got activities. They doing this. They doing that. And by the time you done ran your check for 2 months, you back down to the same funky $500 that you had before you got paid. So you living this life trying to portray this thing because you making this money, but truth be told, you ain't really happy about it anyway. So for that, it made sense to me to understand that slow growth is better than no growth, and to understand where you're going and to be happy with the direction you're going in versus trying to keep up with everybody else just to say, look at what I got. And that was when I was listening to Killer Mike and T.I.'s podcast and trying to get the understanding of when they said you cannot have you're gonna have the spirit of envy, but you can't act on it and have the idea of why not me, because you got to understand some of the people that's gonna sit at your table that you love are still gonna have that why not me attitude in them, because it's not their table, and they may not be eating the same. You might be eating filet mignon, but I'm eating a pork chop. What sounds better to you?
The pork chop.
Damn it, Yosha. Not what I was looking for.
The filet mignon.
You look at the filet mignon
because
that's
it's
cooked perfectly,
better.
but because it's juicier and people care for it better.
It's more expensive.
Exactly. So why can't I eat the filet mignon? But truth be told, if I could eat a filet mignon, you wouldn't know how to eat it. No way you mess over it. Because the way they cook it ain't the way you was raised to eat it, right?
Why would you say it like that?
Because some of the times when you go out and get a steak, when they tell you the best way to eat a steak is what? Medium rare.
Or medium.
I've always heard
medium rare.
The best way I've always heard is medium rare. Both for taste, they give you the better steak, and digestion for the body. Well, it's understanding that people envy because they feel like they're good enough to be there, and a lot of the times they don't understand that before you get there, it's some lessons you got to learn in order to stay there. And that's something I had to understand too. I'm sitting up here at times thinking, why not me? Not saying anything, but understanding that it's some lessons that got to be learned before I even make it to that point. And if I get everything that I want before I'm ready for it and have the knowledge
you want to appreciate it.
Not only will I not appreciate it, I won't be able to hold on to it.
Because you don't know how to
because
do it.
I don't know how to do it.
What to do.
Right.
And you haven't done the research or sought the wisdom that you need.
It ain't even that I done did the research and not sought the wisdom. I ain't had the plan time to be able to make it work.
Exactly.
The way I get better is by failing. But if you telling me I'm going to give you everything from the jump, when I fail, I'm probably going to lose everything because I haven't earned it and learned how to keep it. And that's why I'm okay with understanding that as you're building, you're going to fail. The failure is necessary because that's the way you learn. But if I'm sitting up here and also I had to understand that what are you putting out in the universe, or if you are the follower of a deity, what are you asking your deity for? Because if you ain't asking for that, you ain't going to get it. You're not asking for it. The only reason you want it is because you think you want it because it's showing something else in the public. Bosses take big losses. You gonna fail a lot more than you succeed. And the thing is, a lot of times we're blessed to take our L's behind closed doors and take our wins in public.
Yes, that's true.
That's the difference.
Most of us do take our L's in public because society has us pretending to be something we're not in the public.
Right.
And trying to impress others. So a lot of times you're embarrassed to discuss the losses until after you overcome it. Then you want to talk about the losses in that point. Because if you shared every loss, you probably end up getting your spirits down by people trying to bring you down when you're not succeeding as fast as they think you should be.
See, but the whole thing is, and I'll go to this, and I know I'm listening to a lot of celebrities, but Nipsey Hussle had this one great thing he said when he was interviewing with Big Boy. He said, Big Boy, the radio personality, he said, can't nobody make me feel bad about me and what I'm trying to do. And the thing is, we get so caught up in trying to make everybody else love what we doing that we start getting everybody else's emotional where we should be and what we should be doing. And that's not it.
And their opinions.
And their opinions don't matter because if this is the vision you have, that's your vision. It wasn't given to everybody else. It's not for everybody else to affirm or deny. That ain't it.
You're right. It doesn't have to be that way.
And if it was for everybody to see, then it might not be a vision. It's probably primetime television. Everybody can do it. But most of the people who are going to take these big wins are the ones who had to take these big losses.
And big risks.
And big risk. Big risk get big reward, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
I've been hearing this a lot. If you're comfortable, then you're probably just regular. You're not gonna be extraordinary. If you're comfortable, then
It's
it's not challenging enough. You're not gonna get further
it's the thing of
because
like
you're just kind of stuck in the same place. You're
that,
complacent,
and it's
basically.
everybody who says if your dreams don't scare you, you ain't dreaming big enough. That's real. How many times have you personally went into an interview nervous, right, stuck on the spin cycle? How many times have you went into an interview nervous, not because you don't believe in your own ability, but because you know how bad you want something and how bad you prepare, and you just don't want to make the mistake and drop this one opportunity that's here.
Mhm.
But then when you get in the interview, the nerves go away, and it's almost like you're running on autopilot.
Yes,
You
because
know
you
what this.
rehearsed it's what you were gonna say,
Well, not even that you rehearse what you're going to say.
and you know.
That confidence comes out to understand I don't have anything to be nervous for. These people put on their pants one leg at a time, just like I do.
Mhm.
They work for their stuff just like I do.
They do.
They sitting at somebody else's table. If you interviewing me for a job for a company you don't own, you sitting at somebody's table just like I am.
Yes.
You're making a decision based on the decision somebody made for you. So why am I needing to be in fear of this opportunity when truth be told, it's not really they indecision no way.
That, and I feel like, you have to just always remember what is for you is for you.
Right. What's for you won't miss you.
Ever. Even if you try to miss it.
Exactly. They can get cut off at any point because it's not theirs. If you don't own it, then you can't hold on to it. You can't hold on to something that ain't yours. So it's better to build slowly and know that you know what? If I ain't got nothing else, I got me and what I built. And can't nobody take it from me. It's fine. It's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with building and not necessarily just wanting to put your friends on, but to make sure that your friends are ready to go in that direction so they don't embarrass themselves and
And
you.
you.
And you not understanding that as a friend, I'd rather tell you no than set you up for a bunch of detriment later on down the line because
Mhm.
I didn't take the time to educate you on where you needed to be. And if I did, you may not have grasped it the whole way.
Right.
So
You have to put on the people that want to be on. You got to put on people
what
that can prove that
I,
they
I,
work
I
hard and
I'm not
stuff.
I'm
You
not
can't
even
just put on somebody
I'm not
that
even
just wants it because they know you and they're a friend. They're not gonna appreciate the journey like that.
see, but my
That
friend
reminds me of Super Scent. What we just
my
brought that
friend can
up.
watch from the sideline, and if you are my friend, you're not gonna be mad that you on the sideline because you got to understand that as your friend, I ain't gonna leave you there forever.
That, and you have to put on the people that have good work ethic and that are gonna work hard too.
Yeah,
Like if you,
and during
everybody knows you got a friend that's kind of lazy or just doesn't want to do, then that probably wouldn't be the good friend to go in business with because they're not gonna care and put that time in the way that you
well,
would.
you got to know as a friend and understand what your friends truly love to do because when that's the case, they not just gonna be lazy. You ain't gotta ask them to rise to the occasion because they gonna be there already. What are
Hmm.
you good at? Not what am I paying you to do, but what are you good at? What do you work at without the paycheck? Whether you fry chicken, braid hair, bake cakes, watch kids, if
And
that's
I
what you
know
good at,
plenty of people that do all of that stuff.
and if that's what you
Yes,
good at,
add value. Exactly.
right. And if that's what you good at, then that's what I'm asking you to do. That's what I'm asking you to do. I'm not asking you to come run my business because that's not what you great at. If this is what you good at and you good at cutting grass, then that's fine. You great at cutting grass. It's nothing wrong with that. That might be your gift.
Hmm.
Follow it. It don't matter what's popular compared to what everybody else is doing. In my eyes, because 9 times out of 10, if it's popular, it's probably oversaturated.
Like YouTube.
Well, no, not like YouTube, but you can not like that at all because it can be popular, but you can understand your niche in YouTube.
You can. And
It
you can understand, like for me, people have told me what I can't do, or Yosha, you should niche down into something like beauty or fashion only because that's a fast way. But I honestly don't see anybody out here doing what I want to do, what I desire to do with real talk. People don't want to talk about that stuff.
But that's
And
what
I
I'm
feel like that's where I have to make my table here on YouTube.
exactly. If that's what you're gonna do, understand that when you make your table, it's not guaranteed to bring you a bunch of money. But are you good at it, and are you getting out of it what you want to get out of it? As far as if I had to do this with no money, what would my goal be?
To help others and to enjoy what I'm doing, which is why I'm still here because I don't always get paid on YouTube.
And for me, I
It's
understand.
always been something I just enjoy doing. I enjoy sharing my life. I enjoy sharing my experiences. I enjoy connecting with people and being able to tell others how I made it through some of my most difficult times.
And for me, it's me understanding that I love what I'm doing, but me doing it is creating a better me. If I'm telling you I don't get a
That's true too. What you
if
just said
if
is
I'm telling you I don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks, I have to bring my very best every single day to cash a check. It's gonna require me on a daily basis that if you want to get paid, you got to bring your A game every single day. You don't get days off. You don't get plays off. You don't have off days. Even in the days that I may not be pressing, painting, and doing something that everybody else can see on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, I'm behind the lines looking at my merchandise, understanding how to bring up my shirt ideas, understanding what I'm doing. And not only am I doing that, I'm showing my son, hey, you're going to have to go through some tough times in order to get to where you want to be. And that's fine because you'll appreciate it. You got to understand that if I'm praying for something and I done been showed something and I see other people can do it, I can do it too. Just don't think you going to get to where they are just because you got the dream. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. And you got to understand how you make your way in the hustle.
that's a T-shirt.
And not getting so caught up in everybody
The
else's.
dream is free. The hustle is sold separately.
Yeah, but not even just the hustle being sold separately. You got to hustle with what works for you.
That's a T-shirt
If you
idea.
if you spit a hot 16, great, but you got to understand in speaking on it, you understand what your concept is and what it is and how it works for you. Everybody can't be T.I., but everybody can't be J. Cole neither. But everybody understands, and I'm sure anybody else who's doing it right, it's trial and error, and everybody knows when they've hit a home run on something. You can feel it because it's something that came effortlessly, but it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. You don't have to do it everybody else's way. Your way works, but you got to be willing to walk that path alone. And that's what you can't be afraid of. We afraid to walk the path alone because we're afraid to see what people gonna say about us. And it's not until you get so confident in yourself that you ain't worried about what nobody else say that you really gonna be able to make them strides. I can tell you, I ran from this dream for
Have a
hey,
good night, Brid. Here's my bed. I don't know why I always want to call her Bread because it looks like here's my
yeah,
bread when I
yeah.
read it really fast.
But the understanding of I ran from the dream because I was so afraid to fail, but I wasn't really gonna get anywhere else and be who I needed to be until I had to start embracing what it was. Run from it all you want to, but you ain't gonna never get what you want out of it.
I didn't mean to put the unhappy face.
Well, change it.
I can't.
Yeah, you can go over there and delete it, remove it.
Oh, remove.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, I'm sure that the one thing I've learned along my way on this journey is that
Be right back. Continue. I have to use the
it
restroom.
wasn't until the person I thought I was forced to come out. I used to say I didn't care about what nobody thought. I didn't care about how nobody viewed me. I didn't care about what people thought about where I worked or what I did. It wasn't until I lost the job that everybody was happy for me to have that halfway looked into my degree field that I had to understand, okay, now that you're back at the drawing board, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? And from age 26, because I got fired a month before I turned 26 to now, that was me growing up and being who I wanted to be in my own mind. It forced me to be better in order to do better and to really start over and walk the path I've been wanting to walk anyway and not being able to worry about fear because I didn't have anything else to lose. I didn't have nothing else to lose. It was nowhere else for me to go. As far as this dream I had been asking for, okay, God said, let me remove everything else. And what you keep asking me for, I'm going to give you. I'm going to let you work on it. But what you going to do with it? Are you going to sit up here and try to run to everybody else and still be up here wishing you was doing what you wanted to do? Or are you going to walk that path and understand that you're going to walk it alone for a little bit? Everybody ain't going to see your vision. Everybody's not going to approve of it. But as long as you keep working and striding, you might get to where you want to get one day. It's been an interesting journey just because I had to understand that in order for me to be what I wanted to be, I had to tap into the fear and let it come in order to get to where I need to be and be able to fight past it. I can honestly say I've never wanted to punch a clock for anybody a day in my life. I got happy because before I understood and took the time to gain the knowledge on how to get to where I wanted to be, I was just settling and letting everybody else's decisions for my life actually play out in my life. And that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible because everybody else was living their own life already. They didn't have anything to worry about. They were living. What they worried about? They chasing their own dreams, or so they say. But I'm sitting up here every night in my dreams, looking at what I want, and then waking up in the morning and saying, "Damn, I like what I got, but I ain't in love with it the way I thought I was." And the funny thing is, the day I got fired, my homeboy said, "Man, I wish it was me and not you." And the only reason he said it is because he already had his plan. He just didn't have the time to do it. He was too worried about what obligations he had to pay. But for me, he said, "This is the fresh start you said you've been wanting. Either you gonna put your money where your mouth is, or you gonna fold and crawl back to somebody else like a little insert cuss word here that I'm sure everybody understands what that cuss word would be." But even in all of that, it was me understanding that in wanting to build the table, it was for more folks than just me. It was gonna touch more folks than just me. It was gonna be for more than just me being able to pay bills for my wife and my son. It was gonna be more than just my grandkids. It was gonna touch some other lives and be able to influence some other people and get me closer to my goal. One thing I was thinking of the other day is I want to learn how to eat without going to the grocery store. And it's not gonna make sense at first, but I also understand from talking to the older generation that it was a point in time where you had a farm, you had a garden in your backyard. You grew your tomatoes. You might have
My
grown.
grandpa used to grow collards
You
and
might
all
have.
kinds of stuff.
You might have grown collards. You might have grown green beans. You might have had
And Lord, they were delicious.
a apple tree. You might have had an orange tree or a peach tree. You had some chickens. You might
He
have
had
had.
pigs.
You might have had a pig or a cow. And the thing is, the black community was dependent on each other because you didn't have to go to a grocery store and buy anything from anybody else. You were able to spend your dollars within your community or barter and trade.
Hmm.
That's what I'm trying to get back to and build. I want to be able to go to my friends and say, you know what, man, Josiah needs an internship. I know you own a business. What do I need to do to be able to send my son over there and learn the tricks of the trade? And in turn, they say, you know what? I got somebody who wants to learn how to press shirts. What is it going to take for me to let you teach them and send them back with a skill? Now we teaching in the community and leaving the dollars there. I'm not just building a business for my family, but you know what? Maybe my son don't want a pair of shirts when I get older, but I done taught somebody else who I can let take over my business and pay me back along the way. I understand that they have a passion for it. It's no different than what all these other folks do. They do the same thing. They let they folks come in here and learn under each other. And then, you know what? If I got to shell out a little money to get my kid dream started, that's cool. They're not always sending their kids into debt in college. Because truth be told, college is oversaturated as hell.
Sure
It's hard to
is.
find an internship right now. It's
It's
hard to come out of
oversaturated because people, unless you have something that is just so in need, like doctors and nurses, because that industry is pushed because the world is capitalist and they want people to be sick because that's a money making industry. Like if you pick something that you might like a certain study, like history or you know, even my degree, communication, psychology, sociology, though the psychology helps people work through their pain. Sociology helps people work through um, their pain or their circumstances. Social work, psychologists, they make it hard for those careers to thrive because those type of careers heal the world. You know, um, but then the doctors and nurses, I feel, because they help heal people, but they also help the pharmaceutical industries. So it's like you have a saturation of jobs that are hard to find with a saturation of jobs that aren't. And the stuff that is common that is also needed, like mechanics, barbers, etc., is not pushed as much because it's almost like it pushes you to be an entrepreneur, and that's not what the capitalist environment wants. Because some mechanics work for other people, but a lot of mechanics can work for themselves once they get so good. Same thing with barbers and hairstylists, beauticians. They don't have to work a 9 to 5. They can set their own schedule. They can work under somebody if they want to, but they don't have to, and they can set their own pace. So we push the option that we kind of know pushes people into a cycle of debt. I have half my friends that started school and didn't finish are in debt. The other half, or like 40%, I'll say 40%, finish school and still are in debt and still don't have jobs that can pay down that debt. And then you got 10% that are like me that may don't have any debt because their parents were able to help them or they had scholarships that did not require payment back. So then you got to look into the other types of debt. People get so caught up in cars, they buy new car, finance, and that's debt. Or credit card debt when you're not taught because nobody around you knows how to use a credit card so that what you do in your early years doesn't affect your credit in your later years. You might run up credit cards not knowing what you're doing. So it just kind of makes it hard for you to, I guess, sit at the table, survive here, no,
it.
and
Well, I mean, I was gonna go in a different direction. I think college is oversaturated because we started living the dreams of a generation who didn't get to act on their own dreams. I made it very clear to Melissa when it was time to go to college. I don't want to go to college, and she made it very clear to me: either you gonna go off to college and do what you want to do, or you gonna stay here and go to college and get you a job. But at no point was going to college my dream. The only thing I used college for was 4 years to figure out what else I wanted to do in life. And by the time it was time for me to graduate from college, I still didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do. I could tell you everything I didn't want to do,
yeah, lawyer.
but I lived the dream of somebody who didn't get to go, who was happy to see me get my degree. But as we all found out later on down the line, the degree don't ensure nothing because these ain't the 80s. When they came out of school, yeah, having a high school diploma was great. Having a degree was better, but when me and Yosha came out of college, having a degree meant you were average,
Yeah, and it
and no,
sucks.
and
And I
nobody
think you're
was.
right because my dad, all he instilled in me growing up from the time I could talk was you're gonna go to college one day. You're gonna go to college one day. Because my father, I believe he did 2 years at Clark Atlanta and he didn't finish because he decided to live his dream and be a real estate agent because that's what he fell in love with at the time. And
And
he felt like he could make more money. And he was being an entrepreneur while in school anyway. He used to be a DJ. So he was working, I think, part time at a bank or something, he told me. And also then DJing on the weekends. And then he got into real estate. And it was like, I don't even need to go to school because I'm making more money doing things that I enjoy doing. And I don't even really like this whole school scene thing.
well, and my other issue with that
And
was
I just
they.
wanted to hold on.
I'll
I
go.
just wanted to say, so when it didn't work out years later, I think he had like maybe these thoughts of maybe I should have finished school and got my degree, and I wouldn't have had X, Y, and Z happen. And so when it came to me, he just wanted me to go to college and finish school and push that on me from the time I could talk
Well,
up until I graduated college.
but my biggest issue was I got pushed into a dream that wasn't mine, and then wasn't even educated on the dream. You
Educated on the dream
you
by
sent
him or
no, you
educated
sent
in general once
no,
you did it?
you sent me to college, but they couldn't tell me other than once you get this degree, you gonna get this job. You didn't have no more knowledge of what you were sending me into
Yeah.
because you had been. You couldn't tell me.
And the debt.
You couldn't tell me that $8,000. Oh, well, they only charge $8,000. You couldn't tell me that it wasn't just that was just tuition. You couldn't tell me that that didn't include your meals. That didn't include staying on campus. That didn't include buying books. That they charge you per class. That they gonna charge you for everything from parking on campus, even though you're a student there, to everything
Parking.
else
That
that
thing is
might happen.
crazy.
They you
Then
didn't. T-
technology didn't help because that made stuff more expensive. I had to pay a technology fee every year.
so
Technology fee, book fee, and don't take an online class. You get charged for taking a distance learning class, a distance fee.
it was understanding that for me, chasing somebody else's dream without them giving me the knowledge just was no longer worth
So
it.
you darn right I kept trying to get my student discount after I graduated. I wanted all my money worth.
It didn't make sense for somebody else to sit up here and say, you know what, sitting at this table is wonderful when they had never sat there and didn't know a whole lot of folks who had sat at the table. They were selling you the pipe dream without prior knowledge. That's just what I'm not trying to do to Josiah or any other kid. What do you want to do? Let's put you in place to find somebody who can educate you on how to get to it. That way, if you decide you never want to go to college, you at least understand what your options are and how to get there. I just, in the things that I've learned so far, I want to understand going forward that what I'm trying to chase, I can find some people who are informed and can inform me on what I'm doing, and who are so secure in themselves that in informing me, they're not worried about losing stuff that ain't guaranteed to them no way. Because that's another issue you have. People don't want to educate you because they're afraid they're gonna lose what they already have. And I was never raised to be like that. I was always raised to understand that you educating somebody ain't gonna hurt you. It might bless you in a way that once you help them get somewhere, they able to lift as they climb.
Yeah. I've never been that type of person that didn't want to share my experience with someone or felt intimidated by sharing knowledge.
I used to be until I understood that all that was an insecurity of self and understanding that you might not be adequate enough to hold a position you got. That's just being realistic. Some of the times you worried because you messing up while walking on your journey and you just don't want somebody to capitalize on the stuff you messed up on.
Oh wow, like you tell somebody your mistake and you say don't ever do this because
What
I did this, and then
it's
they
not
kind
even
of study it and do it better and then perfect it because they learned from your mistake.
it's not even that they've learned from my mistake. It's the fact that I'm saying, hey, the best way to do it is this. And they don't have to learn baptism by fire. You've been given the option to be educated, whether you use it or not is on you. You can't never say while I talk to this person they weren't willing to let me know certain things. So now you have the choice that I did not have because I had to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to keep somebody from walking through fire, but I also understand that if they walk through the fire, that's their choice and it might be necessary for them to learn. But I'm never going to not make myself available in order to educate somebody else who needs it. And I never want to and be so full of myself where I got to sit up here and say when they accomplish something, I taught them everything they know. Guess what? You didn't do it for them. They still had to go out there and perform. They still had to do what they needed to do. You didn't walk for them. You didn't talk for them. You can't be an adult for them. But in me understanding everything that was going on, it was just, you have to understand that for me, you're going to get humbled. And it's so much better to be humbled early than to be a fool and get there later and understanding that in your humbling process, you're losing everything you got. I just didn't want to be that way. And that's why I say I'm not so caught up in having a seat at the table and being who everybody else wants me to be as much as I am with trying to learn what it takes to build said table and making sure that I'm around some friends who are so secure in themselves that as we continue to build tables and understand that we're able to educate one another, nobody's so full of themselves that they're not willing to do it. It's just not it. I'm smart enough to understand that when I decided to enter into business, I knew that I knew nothing, and I knew that I was in a figurative sense I was gonna drown, and that was okay. You need that because when you say, "Oh, I can swim," kind of like what happened with Josiah in Mississippi. Josiah thinks he can swim, so he decided to jump into 3 feet and then started kicking and flailing his arms and realized he couldn't swim. So once you were able to tell him, "Hey, let's teach you," he was able to understand after a couple of more times. Okay,
Well,
maybe I don't know what I'm doing.
Shantavia, I didn't realize that you were back.
I didn't
Hey.
either.
I wouldn't say I regret my college experience. I would just say that, oh, I don't regret mine at all. But I just think a lot of people get set up not realizing that it doesn't guarantee you anything. College is just an experience.
I was glad to go to college, but I'm got out of college. I was glad it was more than just a degree. I learned how to deal with people. And me going to college, becoming a brother of Phi Beta Sigma, gave me a chance to be around somebody who was already in the position I wanted to be in later on down the line. He owns a Greek shop. He knows how to press T-shirts. He knows how to run embroidery machines. Not only does he know how to run them, he got 5 of them sitting in the back. He got screen print machines. He has a laser cutter. He understands who to contact to digitize. That was the blessing I was glad I got in college because it pushed me to try to achieve what I truly wanted out of life. So I'm more grateful for that than anything because going into college, my goal was not to graduate. I didn't care about graduating when I went to college. My whole thing is cool. I get to be 4 hours away from moms. I get to be around some folks who can drink, and then they throw parties on the weekend that I can get to with my friends. Let's ride. That was my whole college experience. I did not go into college thinking about graduating. It wasn't until I got to my junior year and realized, hey, brother, you only got 1 more year. It's time to get up out of here. That was when graduation started to make more sense to me. That was when it became important. But until then, it wasn't that important. I was worried about keeping my GPA up because in high school, after my freshman year, I didn't have a bad GPA. So it was about keeping this reputation in order to not look bad in front of my parents. I became an RA because I just didn't want to spend as much money on housing. And I got to have a nice little refund check to tide me over for the semester after the scholarships and everything else came in.
I was also a resident
I
assistant, and that was really good because it saved me a ton of money.
I got to become a brother of Sigma, and that was more of the reason I went to college than anything. I didn't go to college to get the degree. I went because I thought it was like drumline, stomp the yard, and American Pie, drinking, partying, women, and you get to have these memories when you go to homecoming and talk to all these folks about everything you did during your time there. That was the only reason I went. But thank God I did. I mean, the dream I had from 16 of being able to design my own stuff and sell it to people and be good at it, I got a little bit of knowledge on how to get it done. So I was grateful for that in that respect. But I mean, I wish I would have learned that, hey, while you see all of this, I wish somebody could have sat me down and said, this, you probably won't have this in the first 5 years of business unless you follow ABC step, and even then, it's not guaranteed. I wish somebody would have told me that. I wish folks would have. I wish more folks would have been honest in saying before I got to my junior year, the what you're majoring in don't make no money, and it's heavily saturated with people who have the same qualifications as you, better than you, worse than you, and they know more people than you do, which is why they probably gonna get more opportunities than you. I wish I would have known that, but I'm also glad for the fact that I created so many friendships with folks to where they weren't so superficial that once they started making progress, they were willing to hide it. I was glad for that. I was glad to sit up here and be one of the numerous broke kids in college who y'all splitting money or y'all pulling together money to go eat at Checkers at 1 o'clock in the morning because you don't have dining dollars and extra money to spend on campus to eat. Campus is closed. And truth be told, you got 50 cents, somebody else got $1, somebody got $1.25, and we got a plastic knife in the car where you can cut up a burger 3 ways, split some fries, and everybody got some food in their stomach. And nobody ever forgot that. I was happy for that. I was happy for my friends to not have the idea of why not me. That we were all friends enough to understand that when it's your time, and I'm not gonna block you from your spotlight, and it's not about me. And I love you enough to be your friend no matter what your decision is, because I know you're gonna do what's best for you, and I'm not gonna leave you hanging, and I'm not gonna do nothing to see you out in the cold. I'm grateful for that. The seat at the table, I had to understand that upon trying to get the seat at the table, that
That's what I've
what
been looking down at, y'all.
what good is the seat at the table if you sitting around and you eating by yourself? You don't have nobody with you to continue the legacy once you gone. I mean, I'm learning that. What good is it? What good is it to not have stuff you can call your own? That's something moms taught me from a very young age. It's always better to have your own than to borrow and have from somebody else. Because when they pull it from you, ain't nothing you can say. I'm just saying we can all work together as a community, not to build separately, but to build together and be confident enough, man and woman enough, to understand what our contribution is and not try to overlook it and I got to be the big fish. I mean, look at ants. Most of these ants are the same size. But when you get 100 of them together, they'll walk off with your whole picnic.
Ew, yeah, they do. Gross.
They will pick up a chicken bone and walk it all the way back to the colony, and everybody will eat. That's all I'm trying to get us to understand, that we're not so fickle that we can be bought out with just a little bit of money that we're gonna end up blowing through anyway. Okay, cool. You got $15,000. How long does $15,000 really last? Is it worth selling out your friend and not being able to spread the wealth and enjoy? She said, "What color nail polish?"
It's called
It looked like plum.
Berry Charm. It's like a dark purple. Ooh, don't look real close because then you'll be able to see. I gotta clean it up, but yeah, it's like a purple. Ooh, that messed up. I don't know. It looks like this.
Just show at the bottom of the bottle. Scoot it that way. Not move up.
Yeah, and
There you
it's
go.
by Simple Colors. I got it at Walmart.
So I mean, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
I mean, it's just as a people, I guess we gotta understand that meme that was floating around from so long. When I become we, when I becomes we, illness becomes wellness. You know, I'm just trying to make sure I understand that my ego is not so big that I'm willing to I'm willing to sabotage my community in the process of building.
Where did that come from?
It just comes
How
from
do you sabotage your community? I mean, what do you mean?
because some of the times the same people you done heard of. Okay, good example. You grow up in the hood. The first thing we do is move out of the hood, understanding, not really understanding that we trying to move where the white folks at because they got the restaurants and they got the mall, they got all the attractions. It's quiet over there. Not understanding that we sitting on valuable property. So as we're moving and not encouraging somebody to move in behind us, we're leaving the opportunity for the communities that the people who came before us built. We're leaving that to be able to be bought up by somebody else and essentially lose our power that so many generations came before us and built. It's kind of like downtown Atlanta. Downtown Atlanta used to be the center of the black community, right?
Mhm.
But who owns most of downtown Atlanta now?
Oh, okay.
We gave it up because we thought it wasn't good enough, and we thought that being around white folks was gonna give us a little closer seat at the table.
When
Well,
it doesn't,
if I can sit in a white folks neighborhood, I'm just a little bit closer to the table. No, you ain't.
you're just in the neighborhood.
You just in the neighborhood. You're another neighbor, not just another neighbor. You're another
Uh-uh.
neighbor. That understanding that part, understanding that the land we were sitting on was precious for a reason. It was valuable for a reason. Understanding that every black person didn't go to college, but we still learn trades. That folks who are able to grow vegetables, you grew vegetables and might have bought from Miss Ola down the street instead of having to go in Publix to buy your food, or going in the Kroger and buying your food, or going to the farmers market and paying folks who are Middle Eastern. And there's nothing wrong with supporting them, but I'm just saying, at what point do we understand that it's nothing wrong with supporting our community and it's good enough? There's nothing wrong with that. We're good enough. We don't have to worry about fighting so hard to have a seat at their table, because they show ain't fighting to have one at ours.
Mm-mm.
And they ain't fighting to give us these opportunities. It's ain't too many people we counting on who understanding they reaching back in the hood and grabbing these black kids and trying to give them the better opportunity. Or instead of reaching back and pulling them out the hood, creating the better opportunities in it. How many folks are creating the better opportunities there? How many folks put money into Southwest DeKalb and McNair and Frederick Douglass and Benjamin E. May and Mays and Towers and those schools? How many folks put money into that? Let's look at how many folks really donate to these HBCUs that are not named Morehouse, Spelman, or Howard.
You think it's HBCU favoritism?
It's the name. The name comes with the prestige, but we got to understand that that wasn't the only. Them weren't the only schools that educated black folks. Everybody couldn't go to Morehouse in Spelman and Clark and Howard and Hampton. It was some wonderful folks who went to Tuskegee. It was some wonderful folks who went to Tennessee State and Mississippi Valley and Grambling and Southern and FAMU and Bethune-Cookman and the numerous schools, Lincoln University, Albany State, Fort Valley. Those are the schools that we look at that numerous people went to. But how many parents? And I know my parents. Thank Dad encouraged me to go to HBCU. He understood because for the 1 year he went to a PWI, he said they'll teach you the stuff that you need to know and teach you how to get there, or at least enlighten you on what you battling that some of these PWIs will not because they don't understand the experience. I encourage people to go to HBCUs. Yeah, they're smaller. It's nothing wrong with that. It's plenty of folks who came out of Savannah State who went to work for Microsoft and Johnson and people who opened up their own businesses and created internships and created scholarships and did all these wonderful things that help people who recruit, like my friend Drea, who recruits people to replace those who are graduating to at least try to make sure Savannah State can stay around for a little bit longer. There's nothing wrong with that. They're still good enough. They're more than good enough. They're great. But we got to understand that going to UGA don't necessarily guarantee us anything if we don't know nothing to back up the degree. There's nothing wrong with it at all. We don't have to sit up here and ask other folks for acceptance that we can give ourselves within our community by being selfless. That's all I'm saying. Well, madam, do you have anything?
Mm-mm.
I had something else, but that's a completely different conversation. Maybe for next Wednesday.
I had something else, but
Well,
it
go
was
ahead.
not about this. And this is such an empowering conversation.
Well, go ahead
So
and
I
talk
feel like
about
I
whatever you
should
want to
just
talk about.
save one for next week,
Well,
too.
what is it?
No, I just did a video about it. It's about if you're in a committed relationship and someone has a baby on you, what would you do? I've been sharing it all over Facebook and sharing it with other like groups that I'm in. With
Well, I guess the question
and
is, what part of the how far are you into the committed relationship? Are you married? Are you just seriously dating? What
seriously dating, not married, or I mean you could do
are
married
are
too.
you approaching marriage? Has marriage been discussed, or is this just a long time thing
It could be
that
a
we
long
just
term
been there?
relationship, long term engaged,
Well, I guess
married.
my first question is, how committed to you? How are you committed to the relationship and the person, or are you just committed to the person? And where's your ego at when that happens?
Yeah, I don't think of it that way.
I know you don't, but I mean that's my question is that people have gotten past it, but how damaging was it?
You think you'd be willing to get past it if I got pregnant by somebody else while I'm married to you?
Can I get past it? Yes. Am I gonna work to get past it? Is the question.
Right.
Right. But that's not something I can effectively answer. Would I like to say yes, I am? Yeah, but I don't. That's the question of how shattered is my ego at that point.
But why would you want to assume that you would, I guess?
Because when I married you, I didn't just marry you. I committed to the relationship with you, and to understand that till death do you part holds more weight than anything that you could do to me.
But there's some things that I could do to you that are not acceptable as a wife, too.
Right, they're not acceptable, and there are things I'll do as a husband that may not be going out and cheating on you that are not acceptable. However, me understanding till death do you parts means that your life partner, not just the the title of husband, means that I'm committed to fixing the relationship no matter what, and it's not so much of my ego that's going to take a hit to understand that when I said till death do us part, that meant that I'm committed to working through everything with you in order to make sure this relationship stands the test of
But
time
what if
and
I
that
don't
we love
want
you.
to, and
See, now that's
I'm doing things to make it fall
now
apart,
now
like
the,
cheating?
now that's different. That's the understanding of now you're no longer committed to me or the relationship. So it might be time for me to step back and understand what's going on because now till death do us part no longer meant anything to you. So it don't make sense of me being married to myself and you just being on the paperwork. Because that's what that is. It's me being married to myself, but you're on the paperwork. I'm fighting to do everything else. Meanwhile, you out here running these streets.
That's how it is, regardless if you cheated and you got somebody pregnant.
No, but you have to
Where was your covenant and your commitment when you made that decision?
I think this goes into the question of why were you cheating, what were you looking for, and what were you insecure of within yourself. A lot of times people will say they
You
cheated
can't
because of
use a
somebody
condom with that other person.
who says you didn't and the rubber just broke. And she decided to keep it even though you didn't want it. Because that happens a lot too.
I just feel like that's really interesting. If you use condoms at home and they don't break, or you use condoms regularly, or whatever, and you don't get pregnant, and then you try to use a condom with somebody and you do get pregnant because of it breaking.
Well, let's see. Where did you keep the condom? Did you keep it in your wallet or in your car? Because you might have made it ineffective. Did
I
you
don't know.
did you
I just
sit it
feel
up there
like
and walk away?
I feel like you're saying this, but if it was the true experience, it would be much harder than said than
No,
it
I'm not
might
saying
be.
it wouldn't be. What I'm saying is I would be pissed. Yes, I can't say that I wouldn't be. However, is my ego and my understanding that is what does till death do you part mean? I guess, and the only reason I say that is because I sat around the older folks
I think
who,
death do you part has to have conditions.
well, what are those conditions inside of the vows though?
I don't think they exist inside the vows.
Because they're not meant to. When they said till
But
death do you part, it literally
you're
meant
not
till
supposed to
death do
cheat
you
on each
part.
other either.
Right, you're not.
It's not in the vows, but it's that you shouldn't dishonor your husband or your wife.
Exactly. I'm right. I'm not saying what they did was right.
Doesn't the Bible say that divorce is that he doesn't want divorce, but if you like if the wife or husband cheats or something, then he can choose to divorce. It was really
I
more
can't
so.
I can't really tell you, and I'm not even sure because I'm not really well versed on that part. I didn't even know that. I I've heard of certain things, but I can't necessarily speak to the fact that divorce was approved. So I'm not really sure. That's not something I can
It
effectively
might have
comment
been
on.
as separation, but my thing is, yeah, I don't know. The cheating thing would be hard.
Yeah, the
The
cheating
point of
thing
my
is hard.
video was that like if you're not married, and I would probably say choose a different route that doesn't include that person that had a baby on you because
I can understand
that's
that train of thought. There's nothing wrong with that.
it's just kind of damaging. It's in
It
the boat with
definitely.
the STDs. Like somebody give you an STD, then that goes into the same visual thought that like you couldn't
Well,
even
you
use
have certain
a
STDs that
condom.
lay dormant in your body anyway, and they don't come out until a later time. So I can somewhat understand that. But there are STDs that will lay dormant inside of people and then pop up at a later time. I'm not sure. I can't say that it's right, but I mean it's definitely.
I just think that infidelity is a big killer.
It is a big killer. I won't say it's not. It definitely is.
Hmm.
It definitely is. How could you say it not? It's definitely a break of trust, and it's you're breaking trust with somebody. You're definitely in a lot of ways at times embarrassing somebody.
Yeah, and that's the
Um,
worst. Make someone feel really small, make them feel really
yeah, it's definitely something.
unworthy, not good
Well,
enough.
well, that's why I say it's
I
when the
mean, you could say it goes to your self esteem, but regardless of how high someone's self-esteem is, if it can be, that can still be damaging to one's self-esteem, even if you are esteemed in yourself. If someone
I
does something
agree.
like that to
It
you, it
makes you
still can
ask. It makes you
make you
ask
start
questions.
doubting yourself or blaming yourself for something that you are not really at fault for. But I don't know, y'all. It is what time?
11:30.
I'm about to get ready to go to bed, and we will resume with real talk probably next week. We'll see how we feel. See if we can get the little one in bed at a reasonable time and everything. But I want to thank anyone who joined us during this live session. Anybody that might stream this after we are finished, thank you for catching up with us. Dez is wearing his breast cancer awareness Bet on Yourself wristbands, and he has those for sale for one for $3 and two for $5, and
Correct.
we can ship them to you via USPS. So if you're interested in a Bet on Yourself wristband,
You are more than welcome to DM me
you can follow him
at
Des at
MMC Art Design on Instagram
like
and
that.
mhm, on Instagram and Twitter. No, not $5 for $2. 5 for 2.
5
No, $5. Yeah, you had it right.
or 2 band.
Right. And if
And
you're interested in not just having pink breast cancer
he
awareness,
has like 9 colors,
I have
y'all.
9 different colors. And the main color that I don't have is black. Unfortunately,
The
for
closest you
some
can get
reason,
is gray.
is is gray, and I have a like a hunter green. Probably as close as you get to black. I really did want black. I wear a lot of black. Most of the t-shirts I press are initially in black unless I feel the need to do otherwise, but it was not a viable option. And for the sale that they were, and for what they were selling them for, and what I was able to acquire them for, I didn't want to go through another company to have my bands made up and pay another separate amount.
My nails are almost dry, y'all. They almost dry.
But
I want to wait till they dry so I can clean them up. Maybe I
so,
clean up in the morning with a Q-tip.
if you would like to support Mastermind Creations during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the pink wristband is for sale, and there are shirts on the way. We also have the gray and the white. And the white wristband that you see is a wristband for Melissa's 3D transformation.
I'm trying to let them see it.
Well, the white one's kind of blocking it.
I want to get nail polish on it.
um,
Bet on yourself.
yeah, so
Okay.
I also.
But yeah, and then he can ship it to you. The shipping will probably be a little bit extra, but it wouldn't be more than the cost of the wristband.
No,
So no worries.
it would be
Probably like $2.
3 to 4 day shipping, just to make sure that the price of the shipping does not
Get really high.
does not cost more than a wristband, because at that point
You might as well buy 30 so you can get your money worth.
somebody's taking a loss, and I don't want you to take a loss, because that's not good business, and you won't want to shop with me again.
Yeah, so bet on yourself. Create your own table. Keep the information in your community. And be
Don't
blessed, y'all.
don't have the don't act on the mindset of why not me. The understanding you it's understandable to have envy, but acting on it is what can be a terrible thing for both you and the person you're acting against. Y'all be blessed. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice night. Make sure you subscribe to Miss Exclusive 4 on YouTube. You're more than welcome to follow her on Instagram. And make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Thanks, guys.
Bye. I always forget that I'm on my phone.